Welcome to the Same Day Podcast, where we discuss driving incremental business growth and other topics related to real estate, property management, and entrepreneurship. Now to the show at hand.
Matt Zalk here. I'm the host of the Same Day Podcast, where I connect with top business experts and real estate leaders. A couple of past guests on the podcast that I'd love to mention. Brooke Reuter talked about contract for deeds versus lease to own options. That's in the real estate, generally in the real estate realm. Scott Reeves of Chickasaw Community Bank talked about commercial banking and generally lending. Of course, I've had Mike Bosch on here from Atento Capital. He's talking about venture investing in the middle of America, so often forgotten, but we're happy that he's in Tulsa doing some great work and in Northwest Arkansas doing some great work. Check out those podcasts, some interesting conversations. Today's episode is brought to you by Keyrenter Property Management. At Keyrenter Property Management, we are a full-service property management company helping our clients buy, renovate, and operate real estate assets. We help our clients build wealth while taking the headache out of property management. Aaron, you don't necessarily know this, but our core business is property management. In that function, we do a ton of renovation work, help clients. We're helping Kara at the moment. She bought a house recently, and we're doing like $70,000 of renovation work to make it a beautiful, beautiful home. Seth on our team does a great job going in and scoping out the project on the front end so that he can just kind of run through all new plumbing, all new electrical, HVAC, roof, the whole thing, and make it a beautiful house. And it returns really, really well for the investor. And a new resident has a great, almost brand new home with all new fixtures and counters and cabinets and the whole thing. So it's a really good value add service that we provide. And I love doing it. I love seeing the before and afters. I used to do it all myself, and now Seth does it. So I just get to see the before and afters, and it's an awesome transformation. That is why, though, with Keyrenter Property Management, doesn't matter what rental you have, single family home, condo, townhome, apartment, we have the management solutions that you need. Go to keyrenterpmc.com or info@keyrenterpmc.com. Back to Mike Bosch for 1 second. He was a great friend of mine. He has Atento Capital, and they bring together various members. And he's like the social chair of Tulsa, I feel like, and brings together tons of people from different communities and the one big community of Tulsa, but he's also now working in Northwest Arkansas. But Aaron, you and I first met at one of his first Friday events, which is a great downtown Tulsa event, but also a little party that he throws for budding entrepreneurs and just people that are in the venture entrepreneurial ecosystem. So I want to give a huge shout out to Bosch for connecting us originally. I knew from the moment I met you, you're doing something super cool. Let me introduce you. Aaron Whigham is from Pittsburgh, PA, where he was at school, Penn State, and went to served 8 years as the bursar and then director of strategic initiatives. I just learned what a bursar is, so I want to just educate everyone on what a bursar is. Aaron joined Atento Capital in 2020 and led an effort called TE100 by recruiting and advising over 160 founders in 2021. That's 160. That's crazy. It means he doesn't sleep very much. He currently leads New You, which is an effort to help diverse talent imagine, discover, and actualize a 2.0 version of themselves. Welcome to the show, Aaron. Happy to have you here.
Thanks a lot, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here.
Tell us for a moment, 160 founders that you helped advise. What level of advising did you do? How did you find 160 founders to even put in the pipeline of advising? How did that start?
Yeah, so it's a interesting story how it all came together. I'll take a little bit step back from there so you can kind of get a ramp into that. Mike Bosch so I spent the last 8 years as director of strategic initiatives at Penn State and built a bunch of programs through there. One to note was the Mon Valley Launchbox, which was a business incubator where I went in, brokered a deal with the local mayor, said, hey, if you give us a space, rent and utility free, we'll start to pump businesses back in the community. The mayor jumped all over it. That was 2017. And then we put pen to paper 2018. The program took off. In 2020, Mike Bosch finds me. Shout outs to Mike Bosch. He finds me on LinkedIn. He says, hey, I see what you're doing in Pittsburgh. We'd love for you to come do it in Tulsa. And that was the beginning of the negotiations to get me to Tulsa. I've never been here before, never been to Oklahoma, never had
welcome.
Never flown over Oklahoma. And so thank you. I feel welcome now. But I had no point of reference. And so all I had was Mike. Mike talks fast and he talks with his hands. He's excitable, and so he, he's, hey guys, just come, we'll figure it out, And and so we talked about it. And this was when COVID hit. And so we actually couldn't get a flight there at the time.
Wow.
And so I ended up moving here the weekend of the Trump rally. This was June, this was Father's Day, June 2020. And landed here. And because I had a background in higher ed, I didn't really know what my footing was supposed to be in VC. Although I had worked with entrepreneurs, I had not had any exposure to the VC space. And so, we both were trying to figure out, well, what role do I play here? And lo and behold, I get a call from the Bay Area. Mike gets a call from the Bay Area from a company called Sky's the Limit, which was looking to it's a digital ecosystem for entrepreneurs. They were looking to drop a pin in Tulsa and also at an in-person experience, and they needed somebody to lead the effort. Mike came to me and said, "Hey, Aaron, you want to quarterback it?" I said, "Sure, let's do it." So from there, we ended up, that was the beginning of that. I did a little bit of analysis throughout the region and got to know some people. I went to barbershops and beauty salons and football practice and just introduced I did it the old school way,
Wow.
And then,
hustle.
Yeah, a little bit of hustle. And then what we did was raised $100K from October to December. And then in January, we kicked off programming, January of 2021. So we launched a program called Tulsa's Emerging 100, TE 100, which was an effort to help 100 minority founders start a business in 2021. We kicked that off in January. By June, we had 100 businesses on the platform.
Wow.
And by November, we closed with about 160.
Wow.
And so that was kind of the pathway to get there. Now, you asked me, how did I do it? I really did it grassroots style. Like I said, I went in beauty salons, barbershops, football practice, wherever I can go and find people. Because remember, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And so many of the places were closed. Some places were had odd hours. All of the different auxiliary groups like soccer and some of the things weren't happening at that time. And so wherever I could find traction, I would say, like, who are 2 or 3 people that you would encourage me to meet to take this farther? And all of a sudden, people, the gracious nature of Tulsans, they just begin to open the door. And the next thing you know, I started off looking for people, and I ended up there looking for me. And so
I love it.
happened pretty quick.
What was the promise that you were making to them, to potential business owners, minority business owners? Like, what was your value proposition to them?
Yeah, the value prop really was around what Sky's the Limit had to offer. Sky's the Limit is, like I said, a digital ecosystem for entrepreneurs. There's about 40,000 of them on their site. And what they do is they offer mentoring rather, from individuals from Accenture, from Goldman Sachs, from all these huge companies. Wow. And it's all free. And so people are always, sometimes that information becomes a barrier to entry. Right. And so if I'm meeting a group of people and I say, hey, if you're looking for mentorship, I have a means to that. And what we did was put layered programming on top of that. So we had a speaker series, and we started to do one-on-ones, and all of this like triage work that went around the development of founders. All of a sudden, it created a momentum. So now the word's getting out. Hey, if you need help with your business, you need to come see Aaron, or you need to come to T100.
Were these people that had been thinking about starting a business and just needed a little bit of a push? Or were these people that were, when offered the chance to have mentorship, said, rather, sure, I'll start a business. Let me think of something to start?
All of the above. So we had a couple of different categories that we looked at. There were some people who were taken from good to great. So they're already in business, but they don't know what they're doing, or they are not, they need more knowledge in how to do better, execute what they're doing. And then there were the people who I call 0 to 60. So like they just had an idea, but they didn't put anything in motion yet. So how do we activate them? And then there were the individuals who were already in business and they already were doing well, but they didn't have access to capital, or they didn't have access to like the next level of what their business was going to do. And so how do we kind of support them in a very strategic way so that it positions them for the growth that they're looking for.
And so of the 160 entrepreneurs that you mentored, assisted, advised, whatever it was, or just connected with the right resources, kind of what are some great examples of people that are doing just awesome stuff right now?
Absolutely. Great question. So one to note is the Alpha Grill. A guy named Frank Willis. He had a couple food trucks and he had a location out in the mall out in East Tulsa. And he sent, we went through a bunch of different programming. He and I met offline, online. We met all over the place. And he ended up doing Shark Tank. So we partnered with Shark Tank. Mm-hmm. Well, let me take that back. He did a virtual Shark Tank because
cool. Still, yeah.
So, yeah. So one of the guys who helps to do casting calls for the show Shark Tank gave me a call and said, "Hey, we want to drop a pin in Tulsa. Like, can you get people together?" And so I began to call the Black Wall Street Chamber. Rest in peace, Sherry Gamble Smith. She was an instrumental part in the success of that Shark Tank. And she even came out and did it during Juneteenth. She was running a Juneteenth celebration, stopped what she was doing, came over and still did the Shark Tank with her. So rest in peace, Sherry. We'll never forget you. So we partnered with Sherry. We partnered with TEDC. We partnered with several other accelerators and incubators in the area. And we got an aggregation of individuals together to be able to do this casting call. So anyway, Frank Willis did the casting call with Alpha Grill, and he actually got a second call to do another one. So there's another founder, Raquel Wilson. Shout out to Raquel, who was a dynamic young lady, went to Ohio State, came here to Tulsa through Teach for America, actually. And she is now leading she has her own book that she's written, a financial literacy book called Raise the Bar. And actually she did volumes 1, 2, and 3. She just launched 3 and she sold out of 1 and 2. And so, she's kicking butt and taking names, man. We're really proud of Raquel and the work she's doing. She's also the development director at KIP. And so just dynamic people who just needed a little bit of steering and a little bit of connection. And all of a sudden, they're blazing trails right now.
I love it. So you talked about some of the challenges of getting a TE100 started. It was a pandemic. Things were closed. You hit it with a grassroots effort. What other challenges did you face? I mean, I view that as a tremendously entrepreneurial activity, right? I mean, you were just out. There's so much of entrepreneurship that we talk about on this podcast that's just grit. And so, you're in a maze, you hit a wall, you've got to go backtrack and find another path to get to the prize at the end of the tunnel or the maze. Like what else, what other challenges did you face that you were just like, and you have to grit and get through it?
I think the biggest thing, there's two things that were challenges, but they weren't really that bad. One was I didn't know the area, so I'm new here. I just moved here from the East Coast, and nobody knows me, and I don't know them. And then the other thing was around the fact that I could be taking opportunities from other people. And so, like, who's this outsider that's kind of coming in, and and so there was a little bit of opposition from that standpoint, but I'm from Pittsburgh, baby. This is what we do. I'm Steel City, so we're built strong, tough. We drink brick water, and so I wasn't worried about any of that. I just found my way around all of that. And to be honest with you, many of people who I thought would have been opposition actually became very much champions of the work that I was leading. And so it really has been smooth sailing here. Like I've never had it, I don't want to say this easy. Let me find some wood to knock on. But I've never had it where there's this little barriers to access to opportunity and to actually success. And so these programs have not really been challenging to kind of get off the ground and get into motion.
I love it. What are some of the big pitfalls or mistakes that some young entrepreneurs see from your experience doing TE100 that just knowing ahead of time they could avoid and move past and just, avoid the hiccup associated with it?
One of the things that I think happens a lot is sometimes the person with the talent is not the entrepreneur. Like sometimes you're the baker, your job should just be to bake. You're not the one who needs to do the business.
Right.
Because you're going to, you're going to pinch here, you're going to do, and no matter how many courses you go to, no matter how many times people tell you, because you're thinking about it in terms of the baking versus the business,
right?
The business suffers because you're thinking about the baking. And so that's one of the biggest things that I saw. It was like, when you start talking about margin analysis and cost analysis and how, what are your, go and talk to a restaurateur and say, okay, what are your margins? And they would say, what do you mean? Okay.
Yeah, eyes glaze over.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm here to bake.
Yeah. Well, what did it cost you to make this? Oh, I don't know, about $45, $85. I don't know. 45, 80, that's a big difference,
Right.
And how many people can you serve based on this? I don't know, maybe 5. I mean, so there was like a lot of ambiguity, and some of them were able to like understand the lessons I was given or the advice I was given. And other ones, I had to have the hard conversation. Like, it's not that you shouldn't be in business, but you need to probably have a business partner that you trust that can actually run the business and you be the talent. And it doesn't mean that you lose equity or it's not your business anymore. But sometimes, sometimes that's the more fruitful way for the business to thrive.
Right. That's a critical component. I mean, there has to be somebody doing the business, has to be somebody doing the running the genius behind it, the product that you're serving. I think in EOS speak, entrepreneurial operating system, which is it's one of many operating systems you can operate on as a small business. We talk about the visionary and the integrator. The visionary is kind of like the guy that has a vision. He says, look, or girl, I should say, I've got the vision. I can bake. I know people want this bread, but there's somebody in the business that needs to be able to make sure that the utilities are paid, the ovens are hot, the margins are good, et cetera. So EOS speak, that's the visionary integrator, I guess, duo partnership. And Gino Wickman talks about it in a book called Rocket Fuel. That is just how when one finds the other and they pair, it just blasts off.
Yeah, exactly. It takes off. Absolutely.
I love it. So you were a bursar before you did other stuff at Penn State. You were a bursar, and you were explaining to me that the bursar is like the finance organization of a school. How did you end up in that role? So I guess at UC Santa Barbara, where I went to school, or Georgetown, where I went to school, I don't recall being called a bursar. I don't even know what it was called. You said it's called like what student accounting or something like that. Yeah, which is a more descriptive word than bursar. Yes. How did you end up in a role as a bursar at Penn State?
Man, I would say God, man. The way it all came together was very serendipitous. I was driving. Listen to this. Okay, you ready for this?
I'm ready. Drop it.
I was driving down the highway, literally. And I saw a billboard that said we're hiring, and it was a Penn State billboard. And I went, something just says go on the website and look. So I went on and looked. I saw a finance position on there, and my undergrad's in finance, and so I said, okay, I'm probably gonna do what they need me to do. So I went and applied, and when I applied, they ended up, pulling my resume and gave me a call. Well, when I put my references down, the guy who I called, who's a good family friend, shout outs to Dr. Howard Slaughter, president of Habitat for Humanity. He's a good family friend, and but he was on the board, and I called him to be a reference for my position, and he said, sure. He said, well, where are you going? I said, over at Penn State. And he said, I'm on the board there. He said, I'll call him. Don't worry about it. And so, it was that. And then when I got into the interview process, one of the young ladies who was on the search committee, I actually dated her sister years ago. And so she remembered me from 15, 20 years ago, and was like, she kind of played it off like she didn't know me, but she knew, of course, who I was. And so there was all these like inner workings. And then another lady who was on the search committee, she used to work for the guy, Howard Slaughter, that I'm talking about, my mentor. She used to work for him at a bank years ago. And so when she saw his name, she was like, oh my God, I know him. He's great. And so she said, if you come out of his stock, then you're good people. And I had a great run with my Penn State crew. They were amazing. Our team, Elena Mangus, Melanie Berletic, Kathy Hill, we had a wonderful team through that time period.
I love it. So fast forward a little bit, you finish up a year at TE100. So what has happened with TE100, by the way, before we go into New You?
Yeah, so TE100 was rebranded as Sky's the Limit Tulsa now.
Great. Okay.
And so what we did was we flew in the CEO of Sky's the Limit, a guy named Bo Girardelli. Shout out to you, Bo. Bo's out in Oakland, California. We flew him in along with the COO, and we kind of introduced them to all the inner workings of the city. And then I helped him find a guy to take it on and run it now. So there's a great young guy, a young entrepreneur named Chris Harvey, who is running it now. And he's a dynamic guy, great digital storyteller and social media guy. He's running Sky's the Limit now.
There probably are multiple people named Chris Harvey. I know one gentleman named Chris Harvey that had a bunch of entrepreneurial endeavors that I engaged with over the last little bit. Could be the same guy, could not. So tell us a little bit about New You. What's the program? What's the mission? How's it changing people's lives?
Yeah. So New You is, as you said, a way for diverse talent to imagine, discover, and actualize a 2.0 version of themselves. And so what we do is we go through vision casting, self-assessment, self-discovery, personal development, professional development, and life mapping. And at the conclusion, they present their life maps to a room full of ecosystem partners that can help that map become a reality. And so the way it's set up is that, we spend the first week doing projection. We project out who is that 2.0, who is Matt 2.0? Like, is it a ripped guy? Is it, is it six pack? What is Matt 2.0, personal, professional? And then we create a path for them to get there. So we do projection, weeks 2 and 3, we come in with introspection. So we do deep introspection, kind of unearth some of the things that we need to get out of our system, right? And then weeks 4 and 5, we start to retool for you to go back out and conquer that 2.0 self. In week 6, we do life mapping, which is a culminating experience where we tie all of the collateral together and actually spend time. A lot of times we think that a map tells you where to go. A map actually doesn't tell you where to go. You know where to go. The map tells you how to get there. And so we create these life maps based on what you've identified and where you want to go into how you actually get there. And so that's really it in a nutshell. And man, I tell you, it's really doing some powerful things. I'm so excited about this work. We've had people who've doubled their salary already. We've had people who are in the home buying process right now because of it. We've had individuals who, one lady came to us, she bought her first car in her life. And she was so excited about it to finally be off of public transportation, especially in Tulsa. And we've had people who one young lady just got picked up by Disney. She's going to Disney.
Amazing. Like in an acting capacity, in a screenplay,
she's
writing capacity.
Oh, I'm sorry. The park. She's going to the park.
Awesome.
For like the theater side of things, right? We had another young lady who just got picked up by Southwest as a regional manager. So she's going to LA. And so there's been all these different outcomes. Another young lady, a young Black woman, she was just picked up, and now she's another Black woman in tech, right? Which is very hard for Black women to break into, Black people to break into, but especially Black women. And so that was her desire to be in tech. She's in tech now, and she's doing very well for herself. And so all of this has been a lot of like quick ramp up, and I'm glad to see the outcomes that it's yielding already.
So it's not like a fantastic reimagination. It's not fantasy, and I weigh 600 pounds. I want to get down to 180 pounds. It's not a magical transformation. It is a realistic, I'm doing something, I'm going down a path that I just don't think is my long-term, where I really want to be. So let's take a turn, let's map it out, and let's get there with practical, actionable steps. Is what it sounds like.
Yeah. What's crazy, Matt, is 2020, when the pandemic hit, the university shut down. Penn State, when everything shut down basically, but Penn State shut down. I started a series at that time for the students called Pivot, Don't Panic. And through that, I was telling them different ways to like start a business or to do something. Like, how do you use this downtime? Right now, everybody's paralyzed. How do you catalyze this downtime? And it's so funny because I'm kind of doing the same thing now with this group of people who maybe they were just stuck. I'm on a job, I'm working it, I'm making money, but I'm not doing what I need to be doing. Or I have more gifts and talents, or maybe I'm on a job and I don't feel valued or heard. Or maybe I just had a divorce and I'm trying to redefine who I am because all I was so-and-so's husband or so-and-so's wife, but now I need to know who I am. And so we've had all of those different reasons why people have come through the program, and it was designed for all of that. So it's personal development and professional development, which I put under the umbrella of human development.
When you did the Pivot, Don't Panic, I mean, I understand the inspiration was COVID, but all of us were affected by COVID. Not that many of us decided to go out and start a new program to help other people. What inspired that action on your part to just create a program?
Yeah, man, really, once again, it's nothing but God, man. The students had such a special place in my heart. And these kids are coming to us from all over the world, right? And they don't know what they don't know, and half of them don't know what they do know. And I can't tell you how many of them like have come and said, "Can you mentor me?" Or crowd in my office, "You've been more of a dad than my dad has been." And you know what I'm saying? So when you start to hear that stuff and you start to see how just a little bit of affirmation goes a long way in these students' lives, like it just, I didn't have no choice, man. This is come on now. What's my other option?
You had to step in.
Yeah. What's the other option? Oh, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah.
No, if I know what to tell you, I'm gonna share it with you. And the idea is that some people invest in stock markets, some people invest in real estate. I invest in people, and I believe that will yield a return in the end.
I love it. Mike Bosch is always trying to, for all of his friends, people in the community, he's always saying, joking around that he would take 5% of your earnings for the next little bit. If you want some mentorship, I can take you to the next level, but I need a couple points from your future income, which is a brilliant business model. I don't think it's ever worked, but it's a great joke and a brilliant business model. If you could actually do that, if a university could say, instead of taking a tuition fee, all you do is pay a little bit of a royalty for the rest of your life. I don't know how you'd capture it, but it could be a good business model.
Yeah.
What are some of
if you can monetize potential?
Yeah. What are some of your daily rituals? What do you do consistently to be successful? What do you teach others to do to be successful? I know affirmation. You mentioned affirmation, positive affirmations, gratitude, a whole bunch of stuff is critical when you're facing an uphill battle. When you're an entrepreneur and you've got to just grit and get things done, sometimes expressing gratitude, positively affirming yourself, but also having positive affirmation from outside, somebody, one client that says you're doing a great job when everybody else is beating you down and you're pivoting business models and everything else is super important. What are some of your daily rituals that you find super important?
Yeah. Main thing, I pray. I stay connected with the main thing. So like, what is the main thing? What is my main thing? What are my core? What are the things I can't live without? Right. And that's my faith, my family. And, also being able to connect with people in a way that I'm always leaving them better than I found them. Yeah. And so I never want to engage somebody and be to their detriment. I always want to be to their betterment. That's intentional. And so these are some of the things that I do on a daily basis. Another thing that I do in terms of, myself staying sharp, is I have a mentor. I have several mentors actually, and we don't talk daily, but I probably talk to each of them respectively 3 or 4 times a year. And, I have spiritual mentor, I have business mentor, I have life mentor. And then I also have my mom and dad who I still call. And if I need to get out of if I need to have another perspective from somebody I know who loves me, then I'll call my parents too as well. But I have some key people in my life who are like cornerstones, and they kind of help me to see what I don't see. And from there, I brush off my shoulders and get back in the fight again. And the main thing, one of the main things too that helps me to be able to do this work and not be overwhelmed is I'll go back to keeping the main thing. Like, I don't lose sight of the impact it's having on people. Like, at the end of the day, if you're in business, your clients are people and your employees are people. So you need people in any business, no matter what you're doing. A hospital don't work without people. I don't care how many beds you got. You don't have people, it's not going to be a hospital anymore. And so, airplanes don't fly without people. Like, everything needs people. And so being able to have this impact on individuals and to be able to share the little bit that I may know, or connect them to a broader network of people who do know, is just invaluable to me. And I'm blessed to be positioned as one of those people here in Tulsa.
A great connector. I love it. What are you reading these days? What podcasts are you listening to? What can you share? Little nuggets of wisdom that other people can look to deepen their knowledge of stuff that you're reading.
So it's crazy, man. I just read, well, actually I didn't read, I listened to Rich Dad Poor Dad for the first time.
That's a seminal book. Yeah.
I heard all of when I was listening to it, I heard all those things before. I didn't know it was all in the same book. So
Kiyosaki's been very impactful.
Yes. Yeah. So I just did Rich Dad Poor Dad not long ago. There in terms of podcasts, there's like Earn Your Leisure. I don't know if you're familiar with Earn Your Leisure.
Earn Your Leisure? No, I'm not.
Yeah. So it's kind of a hip hop version of 20-minute VC, cool. Where they talk about stocks and all this other, crypto and all the different options, investment options that you have today.
And the idea is like to invest in stuff and then have more free time, passive income, so that you can
earn your leisure.
Earn your leisure. Interesting.
Cool. Yeah. There's a bunch of things. Let me think. You put me on the spot with that one. Let me think about this. Who moved my cheese? Who moved my cheese?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's about not getting too stuck in the things in life and pivoting and navigating around obstacles.
Exactly.
Not blaming other people.
Great book. The 4-Day Work Week.
Yeah. How's that? Is that something? 4-Day work. I mean, Tim Ferriss's work is well respected and often read. The question is that a practical? Some of those tools can be implemented in any scenario.
Absolutely.
The question is whether it's practical to have a 4-hour work week.
Yeah. I think it's industry specific.
Yeah.
And not industry specific, but like some industries is not going to work, right? It's just what it is. But I also think that like the tenets of the book though could be applied to be more effective.
Sure.
Than what you're currently doing. That's the way I took it.
I certainly some of the stuff about not being in your email inbox all day, and I haven't read it in a while, but not being in your inbox all day, checking it a couple times a day instead of just living out of it and being reactive and setting some automation systems is definitely the right way to be.
Yeah.
Aaron, it's so great to have you on the podcast. Aaron Whigham with New You, formerly of the TE100, Atento Capital, and so many other things, Penn State, and a bunch of other awesome stuff. I'm looking at Howard Slaughter right now. He's an impressive guy. Habitat for Humanity of Greater Pittsburgh. You're one of your mentors. People can find the program at newyoutulsa.com. Aaron, where can people find out more about you personally?
About me personally,
I guess LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. There you go. LinkedIn.
How can people contact you if they want to reach out and or who do they contact in case they want to get involved in New You?
If they want to go on New You, they can go to the website, newyoutulsa.com, or they can go on Instagram. It's New You Tulsa. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn on New You Tulsa. And then if they want to connect with me directly, I'm on Instagram, Aaron Whigham 412, and they also on LinkedIn, Aaron Whigham, WHIGHAM.
Beautiful. Aaron, thanks for being on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, man. This has been fun.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the Same Day Podcast. Tune in to a new show each week and be sure to subscribe to get future episodes.